In 2016, a young man stepped off the boardwalk at Norris Geyser Basin, slipped into a boiling acidic pool, and was completely dissolved within 24 hours. It remains one of the most horrifying incidents in Yellowstone's history, but it was entirely preventable. Every year, nearly 4 million people visit Yellowstone National Park, and every year, a staggering number of them make the same dangerous, frustrating, and entirely avoidable mistakes. This is the definitive guide to the Yellowstone trip mistakes that ruin vacations, and how to make sure yours isn't one of them. Yellowstone sits atop one of the largest volcanic systems on the planet. Beneath its surface lies a supervolcano capable of reshaping continents. That volcanic energy manifests as more than 10,000 geothermal features: geysers, hot springs, mud pots, and fumaroles scattered across the park's 2.2 million acres. These features are breathtaking. They are also extraordinarily lethal. The water in many of Yellowstone's thermal pools exceeds 90 degrees Celsius. Some approach the boiling point. The ground near these features is often a thin, fragile crust, concealing superheated water beneath. Mistake number 1 is stepping off the boardwalk near geothermal features. It happens far more often than park officials would like to admit. Social media has made this worse. Visitors seek the perfect photograph, crouching at pool edges, leaning over railings, and stepping onto mineral deposits that may be only inches thick. Since the park's founding, more than 20 people have died from thermal burns. Hundreds more have been severely scalded. The injuries are catastrophic. Deep tissue burns that require months of treatment and leave permanent scars. The solution is simple, but absolute. Stay on the boardwalk, every time. No exceptions. No photograph is worth a third-degree burn. But geothermal pools are not the only danger visitors consistently underestimate. The wildlife of Yellowstone presents hazards that are just as serious and far more common. Yellowstone is home to the largest concentration of large mammals in the lower 48 states. Grizzly bears, black bears, wolves, elk, moose, and roughly 5,000 bison roam within its borders. Mistake number 2 is approaching wildlife too closely. Park regulations require visitors to stay at least 100 yards from bears and wolves, and at least 25 yards from all other large animals. Yet every single summer, visitors approach bison as if they were domesticated cattle. They pose beside them. They reach out to touch them. They place their children near them for photographs. This is extraordinarily dangerous. A fully grown bison weighs up to 2,000 pounds, can run at speeds of 35 miles per hour, and can pivot with startling agility. Bison injure more people in Yellowstone than any other animal. In recent years, gorings have sent multiple visitors to the hospital with punctured organs, broken bones, and deep lacerations. The signs are always there before an attack. A bison that raises its tail, paws the ground, or turns to face a person directly is issuing a clear warning. Most visitors simply don't know how to read it. Bear encounters follow a similar pattern of human error. Visitors who hike without bear spray, who leave food unsecured, or who stumble upon a sow with cubs are putting themselves in grave danger. Bear spray is considered the single most effective deterrent in a grizzly encounter, more effective, statistically, than firearms. Yet a surprising number of Yellowstone hikers carry none. Experts recommend carrying bear spray in an accessible holster, not buried in a backpack, making noise on the trail, and never hiking alone in bear country. The third major mistake visitors make at Yellowstone is one that won't get them killed, but it will absolutely destroy their schedule and their patience. Traffic. Yellowstone's road system was designed in an era when a few hundred visitors arrived per year. Today, on peak summer days, more than 20,000 vehicles can clog the park's narrow, winding 2-lane roads. The park's Grand Loop Road, the primary artery connecting all major attractions, forms a figure 8, roughly 140 miles long. Driving it without stops takes at least 4 hours. With traffic, it can take 8. Then there are the wildlife jams. When a bear, a bison herd, or a wolf pack is spotted near the road, traffic stops completely. Visitors abandon their cars, crowd the roadside, and create gridlock that can last an hour or more. Visitors who plan to see Old Faithful, the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone, Mammoth Hot Springs, and Lamar Valley, all in a single day, are setting themselves up for exhaustion and disappointment. The solution is to slow down. Experienced Yellowstone visitors recommend spending a minimum of 3 full days in the park, ideally 5 or more. They focus on one section per day and start driving before 7 in the morning. Starting early is perhaps the single best piece of advice anyone can offer. By dawn, the roads are nearly empty, the light is golden, and the animals are most active. By 10 in the morning, everything changes. Parking lots fill. Boardwalks become shoulder to shoulder. The magic of the landscape is diluted by the sheer density of human activity. Mistake number 4 involves something most visitors never even consider until it's too late: seasonal road closures. Yellowstone is not fully open year-round. Most of the park's roads close to wheeled vehicles from early November through late April. Some roads don't open until late May or even June, depending on snowpack. Visitors who book a May trip expecting full access to the park are frequently shocked to discover that entire sections are still closed. The road between Tower Junction and Canyon Village, Dunraven Pass, is particularly notorious for late openings. The fix is straightforward. Check the National Park Service website for current road conditions before every trip. Bookmark it. Check it the week before, the day before, and the morning of arrival. Mistake number 5 is perhaps the most common of all, and the one that causes the most frustration: failing to book accommodations early enough. Yellowstone's in-park lodging is extremely limited. There are only 9 lodges and hotels within the park boundaries, and they book up months, sometimes a full year, in advance. Campgrounds face similar demand. The most popular sites, like Madison and Bridge Bay, fill through the reservation system within minutes of opening. First-come, first-served sites are often claimed by 8 in the morning. Visitors who arrive without reservations often find themselves driving an hour or more to gateway towns like West Yellowstone, Gardner, or Cody, adding precious hours to every day's driving. Seasoned visitors recommend booking accommodations the moment reservations open, typically 13 months in advance. Cancellations do become available, but relying on them is a gamble most travelers lose. Mistake number 6 seems trivial at first glance, but it has cascading consequences. Packing the wrong clothing. Yellowstone's elevation ranges from 5,000 to over 11,000 feet. Even in July, temperatures can swing from 80 degrees during the day to below freezing at night. Afternoon thunderstorms can appear without warning. Visitors who pack only shorts and t-shirts find themselves shivering on morning hikes, caught in downpours without rain gear, and utterly unprepared for the park's volatile mountain weather. The layering system is essential here. Base layers, insulating mid-layers, and a waterproof outer shell will handle virtually anything Yellowstone's climate delivers. Now for a mistake that is deeply counterintuitive. Many visitors spend their entire Yellowstone trip never leaving the car. Mistake number 7. Treating Yellowstone as a drive-through attraction. The park has over 900 miles of hiking trails. Most visitors experience less than 1% of them. The real Yellowstone, the wild, quiet, astonishing Yellowstone, begins just a quarter mile from any road. That's where the crowds vanish, and the landscape opens up into something genuinely primordial. Trails like Fairy Falls, the Mystic Falls Loop, and the Bunsen Peak Summit offer spectacular scenery with a fraction of the boardwalk crowds. Even a short walk transforms the experience entirely. Mistake number 8 is one that catches even well-prepared visitors off guard: ignoring altitude and hydration. Most of Yellowstone sits above 7,000 feet. Visitors arriving from lower elevations often experience headaches, fatigue, shortness of breath, and nausea, symptoms of mild altitude sickness. The dry mountain air accelerates dehydration. Combined with physical exertion on trails, this can lead to dizziness, cramping, and heat exhaustion, even on relatively cool days. Drinking at least a liter of water per hour of hiking and taking rest days upon arrival gives the body time to acclimatize properly. Mistake number 9 is a logistical error that quietly sabotages itineraries. Misunderstanding Yellowstone's sheer scale. The park is roughly the size of the state of Connecticut. Distances between major attractions are enormous. Old Faithful to Mammoth Hot Springs is 51 miles and takes well over an hour without stops. Visitors who build itineraries based on map distances alone, without accounting for the 45-mile-per-hour speed limits, construction delays, wildlife crossings, and parking searches consistently run out of daylight. A realistic approach is to assume every drive will take twice as long as expected. Build buffer time into the schedule. Expect the unexpected. Mistake number 10 is one of the most heartbreaking because it often means visitors see only the surface of the park's most famous feature. They arrive at Old Faithful, watch the eruption, and leave immediately. They miss the Upper Geyser Basin entirely, a landscape containing the densest concentration of geysers on Earth, stretching for miles along the Firehole River. Morning Glory Pool, Grand Geyser, Castle Geyser, and Riverside Geyser are all within walking distance, and each is spectacular. Rushing through this area is one of the great missed opportunities of any Yellowstone visit. There is a quieter category of mistake that rarely makes headlines, but erodes the experience in subtle, cumulative ways. Mistake number 11. Relying entirely on cell phone service. Large portions of Yellowstone have no cellular coverage whatsoever. GPS navigation apps frequently fail. Text messages hang unsent for hours. Visitors who download offline maps, carry a physical park map from the visitor center, and communicate plans to their travel companions before losing service save themselves enormous frustration. Mistake number 12 involves the one resource Yellowstone cannot provide: fuel. Gas stations inside the park are scarce, and during peak season, lines can stretch for dozens of vehicles. Topping off the tank at every opportunity, at gateway towns, at every in-park station, whenever the gauge drops below half, prevents the very real possibility of being stranded miles from help. Mistake number 13 is a behavioral error driven by ego, ignorance, or both, and it can result in federal criminal charges. Collecting souvenirs from Yellowstone: rocks, antlers, petrified wood, wildflowers, thermal mineral deposits, removing any natural object from the park is a federal offense punishable by fines up to $5,000. Flying drones in the park is similarly prohibited. So is swimming in thermal features, feeding wildlife, and approaching nesting birds. Park regulations exist for a reason. Violating them carries real consequences. There is one final mistake that encompasses all the others, and it may be the most important lesson of all. Visitors treat Yellowstone like a theme park. They approach it with the expectation of convenience, predictability, and customer service. It is none of those things. Yellowstone is wild country. It is unpredictable, unforgiving, and indifferent to human schedules and comfort. That is precisely what makes it extraordinary. The visitors who have the best experiences are those who arrive informed, prepared, and willing to let the park dictate the rhythm of their days. They wake before dawn. They carry bear spray. They stay on the boardwalks. They pack layers. They book early. They drive slowly. And they give themselves the gift of time. Yellowstone has been here for hundreds of thousands of years. It does not rush. And neither should anyone who visits it. The geysers will erupt on their own schedule. The bison will cross the road when they choose. The sunrise will paint the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone in colors that no camera can fully capture. Those who come prepared to witness it, rather than conquer it, leave with something no souvenir could ever replicate: a genuine connection to one of the last great wild places on Earth. Don't be the visitor who makes these mistakes. Be the one who avoids them and comes home with the trip of a lifetime. If this guide was helpful, consider subscribing and share it with anyone you know who's planning a Yellowstone trip. It might just save their vacation